Cynthia's Comfort Zone, a short story by me, Tony Tysoe. It was the La Plana de Mar Creative Writing Group's last meeting before Christmas, and Cynthia was coming to the end of her story. For the last 2.5 years, the members of the group had met on the terrace of the Bar Olympic every Thursday, weather permitting, to read out their homework, a few hundred words of literary endeavour on a theme that had taken their fancy. Fresh in their minds while Cynthia intoned were the words of the woman from Barcelona, who, on the strength of the fame she had garnered by making the latest addition to her oeuvre available on Kindle, had been invited to address their previous meeting. "Get out of your personal comfort zone, surprise yourselves and your readers," she had commanded them. "As writers, we must use our imaginations to look for the drama and romance in everything around us." "But nothing dramatic or romantic ever happens in La Plana de Mar," Harriet Todhunter had objected. "That is precisely where you are so wrong, my dear," the woman from Barcelona had replied, standing up and gesturing expansively, her skirts billowing in the mid-morning breeze blowing in off the sea. "There is drama and romance in everything. Why, I just have to—" "Surely not everything," Harriet had insisted. "Yes, everything. If we can only learn to free our imaginations from the fetters of our poor, blighted—" Harriet's husband had lately been telling her she should be more assertive. "What about vegetables?" she said in a firm voice. "There's not much drama or romance in vegetables, as far as I can see." "I think," said Mabel Mantelpiece, the group's founder, "that we have the theme for our next homework." "And that," concluded Cynthia, "is why for the rest of her days Lady Dorkblaster could never set eyes on an asparagus spear without going as red as a beetroot." She put down the sheet of closely typed A4 on the table in front of her and reached for her coffee. For a few long moments, nobody said anything. It was Mabel herself who finally broke the silence. "Oh dear," she said. "I don't think I needed to have all that detail, thank you very much." She shuddered. Mabel was a large woman, and when she shuddered, her outlying regions rippled. Adam Bliss observed the phenomenon with interest and scribbled something in the little book he always carried in the top pocket of the crumpled linen jacket he habitually wore. Only his most trusted confidants were privy to its contents. "Are you quite sure asparagus spears can do that, dear?" said Deirdre Bullock. "I mean, you'd think they'd have to be sold with a warning if they could, wouldn't you? Like they do with nuts. You see warnings about nuts everywhere you go these days, don't you? John says it's all stuff and nonsense, but that's just him, of course. He's got no patience with that kind of thing." "I've been eating asparagus spears since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and they've never had that effect on me, I can tell you," said Harriet Todhunter. "Frankly, I wouldn't credit it. Jolly good descriptive writing, though, Synth. Loved that bit about Lady What's-Its writhing. How did it go again?" "Her writhing reminded me of the last desperate struggle of a downed grouse clamped in the velvet maw of a sleek-coated retriever, its wings thumping frantically against a springing mattress of purple heather as it's dragged back towards a line of smoking guns silhouetted against the lowering Scottish sky," said Cynthia, without having to refer to the sheets of A4 on the table in front of her. She seemed to be having difficulty in making eye contact with any of the group members. "Excellent," said Harriet. "You've got the gift, old girl. You know, I felt as if I was right there on a mist-wreathed Scottish hillside with a loch glinting in the distance and stern-looking men standing to with their smoking guns. But as for the other stuff—" "Such a curious choice of metaphor," said Violet, swallowing with difficulty. "I mean, grouse are feathery, aren't they? I can't quite see her as feathery in that precise position." Violet looked around apologetically. Sorry," she said. "Perhaps I'm just being old-fashioned." I disagree with you. I'd say she'd had her feathers well and truly ruffled, said Victor Cadwallader with a smirk. He'd spent the last couple of minutes trying and failing to catch Cynthia's eye, and was now calculating whether her ankle was within reach of his left foot. All this fine detail is very interesting as far as it goes, but what I'd like to know is exactly how you came up with the idea, said Adam. He held his little book open in front of him in readiness. Good heavens, how should I know? Said Cynthia, more sharply than she had intended. With Christmas looming, she was feeling more homesick than ever and disinclined to talk. I was just trying to get out of my comfort zone for once, like that woman said. She shifted in her seat and tried to ignore the pricking sensation behind her eyes. Quite, said Mabel, looking at her watch and remembering at their last meeting there hadn't been time for her own masterpiece to get a hearing. Well, it just goes to show what we can come up with when we put our minds to it, doesn't it? Now, who's next?